Hey guys, nice to meet you. My name is Brian Lee. Today I want to talk about music production with artificial intelligence. Currently we are overflown with digital content, and digital content nowadays doesn't exist solely for entertainment of its audience, but also center of attention, which people gather around and network, form communities. And with advancement in technology, anyone can be an active participant in the network and fulfill their creative desires. But if you tried making a video or music, you know that it's difficult. It takes much more than just mere desire to deliver a finished product. So today we'll be talking about and focusing on getting rid of the iterative parts of our creative process with artificial intelligence. Here's a brief outline of what we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to talk about how is deep learning used in making music. But just a little disclaimer, we're not going to dig in really deep about how deep learning or machine learning is going to work. I'm sorry if that's what you were expecting, but we are just going to generally talk about what kind of methods or algorithms are being applied, and then we're going to talk about the overview of current status of deep learning in music. And then we are going to talk about major projects that are in progress. I'm going to explain to you what digital audio workstation is, and explain before jumping into demonstration some music terms that might confuse you that I want to clarify before going in. And then we're going to be more interactive and make some music. And then we're going to discuss about whether robots are going to take over the world or not. Okay, to briefly introduce myself, I'm Brian Lee. I am a musician, I'm a programmer. I love tonkotsu ramen, I love motsunabe, I love sashimi. And I'm from Busan, South Korea, so occasionally I need to see the ocean, or I become really unstable. Okay, so last year, until early last year, I was in Seoul in my basement studio trying to learn music production, and right now I'm actively learning the methodology of programming, and it came to me that maybe programmers and music producers are alike in that you're not really satisfied with your work until you see your clients reacting like this. And once you get a little bit of that client reaction and get some confidence in yourself, you become more confident and be more enthusiastic in methods you, adapt in your creative process. But one of the most difficult thing for me personally was making a complete melody structure. I could just easily come up with 16 bars, or I guess verse 1, but then I don't know what I'm going to do and how I'm going to take it to the hook or chorus. And after a year of studying music production, I had about 20 finished songs and about 150 unfinished, just 10 seconds of music clips. And that's the reason why I was actively searching for softwares that are made to assist people in these terms, assist people in making melody lines, but they are more difficult to use than just trying different things. So it would never worked out, and that's the reason why I got interested in music and artificial intelligence. So we're going to briefly talk about how we teach computer to make music. So the first concept is machine learning. So machine learning is ability for machine to learn without being explicitly programmed. This is a definition Arthur Samuel gave. He's like the father figure in machine learning. We are teaching computer with large data set to learn how to figure things out on its own. And how we do it is by using neural networks. Simply put, it's making computer processing more interactive, like a human brain. And these are different neural networks that are being that are most popular and being applied. This is where my head explodes because the specifics of how they work kind of confuse me. But the things you have to remember in terms of music and deep learning is the recurrent neural network and long short-term neural memory network, which is they remember sequences and the impact that the previous sequences had on the current value, and that's how they make the prediction. And now I will talk about how the current status of deep learning is in terms of music. So just a few years ago, this field of research was really inactive. Just 2010, there was only 5 papers published on this topic, and there was little bits of growth. But in 2017, there were 198 papers, and it's growing in 2018 and also in current year. So what are these researchers studying? So 327 researchers studied music genre recognition, composition, source separation, chord recognition, and you can read it and kind of assume the things that the things that these researchers do. But I want to specify what these researches are directed to by giving you just some of the examples that came out in 2017 that I found interesting. So in this case, this is ensemble of deep neural networks for acoustic scene classification. This is a research where you would take audio file of live music session and you run it through a deep neural network, and the computer will separate each instrument. Say if there's 2 electric guitars and a bass line and a drum, how do you tell a computer to separate each instrument? And this is the source separation and general audio classification. And also there is convolutional recurrent neural networks for music classification. This is literally what it is studying. And in terms of music genre recognition, we have interesting study of transforming musical signals through genre classifying convolutional neural network. What it does is it trains a neural network to recognize a certain genre. They train based on 5 genres of music, and what it does is it takes another audio file and it converts that file into a given genre. So if you give it classic and you say make it hip hop, it'll modify the input audio into hip hop like audio. And also there is music emotion recognition via end-to-end multimodal neural networks, which is a study done in Korea. They analyzed 5,000 K-pop idol songs and used deep neural networks to tell whether this song is positive or negative, sad, love, and And also the program that we're going to use today obviously is about composition and deep neural networks. In these fields, they have deep learning and intelligent audio mixing. Audio mixing, for those of you who are unfamiliar, would be we will be telling computer to lower the electric guitar on this part, make the bass guitar on this part louder, and usually those will be done by sound engineers. But this study trained deep neural network for the computer to make a mix of audio. And there's automatic drums transcription library. And yeah, I think reading through these researches, I was very interested or excited because each of these researches, if you think about it, can be turned into like an application idea for developers. If you think about music emotion recognizing deep neural network, you can use that to make an application that takes somebody's music file and say, hey, take somebody's emotion and say, hey, you want to be more happy? Listen to this. And a lot of them can, a lot of these deep neural networks that they architected are open source. So us as developers or aspiring developers can just easily find them and train your own model and I guess turn it into an application. Okay, the real world application I want to mention in this music and deep learning field is Spotify. Is anybody subscribed or is using Spotify for their music? Yes, has anybody used their weekly recommendation? Yeah, I've just recently read about this and then I started using it about a month ago. And I was really surprised because usually I'm like, when music companies give me some kind of recommendation, I'm like, I know you guys are being paid for this, why are you trying to feed me with this? And I never listened to it, but I was intrigued and then I listened to it and I was so surprised because about 70% of the songs that they recommended, I ended up adding to my playlist and just starting to make some specific lists. And yeah, what they're doing is they're using natural language processing to gather, I guess, blog posts or news articles about certain songs, and then they form that database, and also they run deep neural networks on your playlist, the music that you like, the music that you listen the most, the music that you click the most. They take that data and then they cross-compare everything and then they give you recommendations. And here are the data sets that a lot of these researchers are using. In-house means that the researchers themselves collect data and use it on their models. GTZen, MSD, these are the libraries online that are free for you to use. So if you, after today, get interested in maybe experiencing deep learning and music production, you can go to any of these, you can search any of these on Google and you can easily find your large data sets. Okay, so now I want to talk about some of the major projects that are in progress in terms of music production and deep learning. Okay, so Magenta is the one that we are going to use today. I think it's the best one out there at this state because it's an open source project and there are a lot of developers, a lot of musicians who are collaborating with the team that made this to make it even better. So there's a lot of iterative development going on right now. And the second one is Bachbot. It's a research at Cambridge. It takes Bach music and it trains it on neural network. So let's see what it does. So one of the two musics that I'm going to play to you is real Bach. One of it is just Bachbot. I want you guys to guess which one is the robot. So who thinks number one is robot?
Can you say again?
Who thinks number one is robot?
Robot, okay.
Okay. Number two? Okay, number two was the robot, so Bachbot must be doing a really good job. Okay, yeah, I was really impressed. But then again, we're not using it, but because at the end of the day, I want to make pop music, and I'm not a classical music person. So, but very interesting. Please do check it out. There's also Flow Machines. They are famous for creating this song that is really Beatles style. I'm going to play it just a little bit. I don't want to. Of course, the vocals are actual people, but everything else is robot generated. I would say that's seems a little very Beatles style. Yeah, so these are the guys who are actually looking into make more of pop songs and songs that people are going to like. WaveNet is also interesting project that is being developed at Google. This is interesting because most of other projects, they use what is called MIDI file. So these MIDI files are information about where the notes are and what kind of effects are being put on there. So it's kind of like Excel file for music. Whereas WaveNet, they use actual audio files to train deep neural networks to modify music. So let's hear.
What's more?
Sorry. Yeah. So if you hear their sample music, you can tell it's kind of in a weird audio state because they're directly changing the different sound waves in an audio file. So these are interesting major projects that are being progressed right now, and if you're interested, please do check them out. There's actually many projects that are being progressed right now. So these are just like handpicked by me and by looking at how big their community is and how interesting their output is. But there are a lot more interesting projects that are going on right now, so please do check them out. Okay, before going into demonstration, I want to talk about what digital audio workstation is and clarify some music terms. Okay, digital audio workstation is electronic device or software used for recording, editing, and producing audio files. You have your most famous ones are GarageBand, Ableton, Fruity Loops, Pro Tools. This is where most of musicians' wallet gets really thin. In the case of Ableton Live 10, which is the program we're going to use today, the most basic or light version is $100, and then it goes to standard, which is $500, and then it goes to suit, which is like $900. And I don't know why I purchased it, but it's just something that goes. If it's good, I gotta buy it. But yeah, if you the reason why I'm using Ableton Live for today's session is because the Magenta team has a built-in plugin for Ableton and not for anything any other DAWs. So we'll be using Ableton today, and I'm gonna talk more about how they work when we go into demonstrations. So okay, music terms. I already explained MIDI. It's musical instrumental digital interface. So like I said, it just contains information about what notes are playing and where and what effects are being put on them. And also I'm gonna mention bar a lot. It's just a way of organizing written music in smaller sections. So usually a pop song about 3 minutes 30 seconds will be around 80 to 90 bars. So just know that it's a measure of music. Okay. Of course, we have chord and scale. I'm going to refer to chord progression as these chords, like you see here, is C major triad. I'm gonna refer to these, I guess, more than 3 combination of notes as chord progression, and I'm gonna refer single melodies as chords or melody. And scales, I'll show you, is just that is one scale. Yep. Okay, now we're going to go into demonstration of how Magenta works. So our demo flow is going to look like this. First, we're going to see what magenta can do, how it works, how we can use it, and then we're going to optimize usage because its output can be kind of crazy. And then if you have a good enough output, we're going to process it, and then we're going to end our demonstration by exporting the music to MP3 and then texting our friends. Okay, our goal today will be, let's make a pop song. And this contains one condition, pop song. So what is a pop song? So usually a pop song's structure will look like this. You'll have intro and then verse, hook or chorus, and then break or bridge, however you like to call it, and then the same verse, hook. So from here we can see basically we need 4 blocks of chord progression or melodies. So we will try to make them, but first let's see how Magenta works. Okay, on this file right now I have Swan's Lake by Tchaikovsky. Everyone familiar with this music? Okay. Just to clarify, how you can download Magenta is you go to their website, and if you go to their website, you can go into Get Started, and then if you go under Musician, there's a Magenta Studio, and here you can download Magenta Live plugin like this. And if you download it, it's gonna give you this zip file, and this zip file, if you unzip it, it's going to look like this. And this file, magenta.amxd, is going to be the file that we're using. So if you come back to Ableton Live, these are just list of directories that I located in my program. You can easily do this by clicking Add Folder and find whatever folder you want to add and just edit. It was already added. Anyway, let's try using this. So we're gonna take Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake, and we're gonna make Magenta make music that comes after it. You can simply just drag and drop onto your DAW, and let's try using continue. Okay, when you click it, it's gonna give you this window, and I advise not using drum because their drum pattern for some reason is really unusable in my opinion. I mean, maybe it'll become better in next iterations, but for now let's just use melody. So here we're gonna choose track 1, this one, and then we're gonna choose clip, violin. And then what the next things are saying is, you're basically telling the machine, hey, give me 4 variations, length of 8 bars, and temperature refers to how much the algorithm or how much Magenta is going to influence the output. So if you have it really low, you're going to have almost identical or very boring variation of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. So let's see what that sounds like. And then if you up it, it's going to give you a crazy version. let's do the same for other instrumentals as well. Okay, sorry, it does that sometimes. Yeah, I don't know, for some reason, when you're creating melody, if it recognizes too much genius, they kind of just freeze and just. I don't want to spend too much time on it, so let's just try listening to what it creates. So here's the original. Okay, what I'm doing right now is I'm setting the starting point of our generated clip to where our sample or original song ends, which is 35th bar. So I'm gonna say it starts from 35th for this. Alright, let's see what it generates. Okay, that was the one that had 1.6 of temperature, and now we're going to listen to the, I think it was 0.5 temperature. Yeah, it just gives you like this flat one note. I think it does that for everything. So you probably don't want to use it for less than 0.8 temperature. That's what my experience has been like. I usually go for just 1.0. Seems to work the best for me. So in terms of the one with 1.6, just close this. So it generates music, but what do you think? It's not very usable music. I mean, maybe your cell phone's gonna like it. Like, it's like, I swear to God, like at one point my cell phone just started vibrating for no reason. It's like, I like this, but it's not a human music. What do you think might be an issue with using Tchaikovsky's music, or what we did in general? Well, how do you think we can use magenta differently to, I guess, get better output? Anybody has idea?
Maybe, I don't know how it works, or maybe between two samples, if it could fill the gap, maybe it's better.
Yes, there is actually a function for that called Interpolate, which takes two clips and then it generates music that would fit in between them. Usually you would want to use it for, like, if you have the beginning of a song and you know the conclusion, but like you don't know what you want to have repeating in the middle. But let's just see what it generates from using these two clips, I guess. Or actually, let's just try using these two. So if you click Interpolate, it's going to want two inputs. So you're going to select track, and then you're going to choose, actually let's take the original one and the 1.6 temperature one, and then tell it to give us 4 steps. I think the steps are same as length in other ones. So it's generated. Okay, so let's see. I think it's better than previous one. but I don't think I can make pop song with this kind of melody progression. I want more than 5,000 people to listen to my music. So, problem with the sample that I used, Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. No offense to Tchaikovsky or any classical music listeners, but there's too much variation over too many scales. And the rule of pop song, I guess generally recognized by producers, is that you don't go over two scales of melody progression. So in classical music, it's very common to go through large number of scales and create harmony between those varying scales and melodies and different harmonies, and that complexity is the beauty of classical music. But for pop song, we want much more simple, just repeating loops. So we're gonna try using pop song as our data, sample data. Does anybody have a favorite pop song over, like, any suggestion for a good pop song that you want to make music off of? No? Okay. I will just pull out something from. Okay, I'll just use. Is anybody familiar with Rihanna? Okay. First, let's start listening to the original song. Okay, what I did here is, so I wanted a very short sample of repeatable music. So I took Rihanna's song, and if you look here, I just chopped it up. I'm just gonna use this 8 bars of piano to make music, and also here too, I'm just going to use the first 8 bars, and I fed it to magenta. The setting was temperature is 1, and I told it to give me 4 variations. So let's see how it did. Okay, it's still kind of weird, but the idea is you want to make your sample data as easy to analyze as possible. You want it to have repeating parts, you want it to be short, and I think the best data sample that I found was game music. So I'm just going to show you the one that I was most proud with. Has anybody played Pokemon XY? This is the music they use for their boutique. What's great about this sample is that it's got a lot of instruments that's making its music complex, but each instrument is looping on a very specific loop. So this one, for example, is looping on 2 bars. And this melody is also looping on 2 bars. And the data that I ran, Yeah. So after listening to the initial song, I just cut down into 5 instrumentals, and then I ran magenta on it, and here's what it produced. It's kind of very surprising because it's playing different melodies in like 4 or 5 parts, but it goes along very well. And the idea, the workflow that I adapted for working with this specific set is, so I'm gonna think of it like all the puzzle pieces that I need to make my music is here. Because running through them, I was pretty impressed, and I just did a little bit of cleaning in terms of notes and melody, and here is the final output for this data set. So this yellow blocks are the main chord progression. This blue and purple are the single melodies that are like colors to your picture. And this green is like a pointer melody, which is like cherry on top. And the white ones are the bass. And if you can see the number on the tracks, different variation from different iteration of magenta still kind of fits in when you are playing, when you're pairing them up with, I guess, other sets of data. There's not enough time to listen to everything, but okay. So the review is, select a simple repeatable part and fit it to the magenta. I advise that you use temperature 1.0, because if you go up, it just kind of sounds crazy. If you go down, just give it one note, which is really weird. But always sample your data really well. Just find that iterated part, and then explicitly tell magenta that this is the part that I want you to analyze. And one last thing I wanted to bring up in terms of this is, how will artificial intelligence assist creative processes in the future? Because working with it, I was really surprised because it completely changed the way I would work, the workflow in terms of my music production. Because, like I said, it's just like finding the right data to give computer so that it can give inspiration to me. And once I find the right data, I can just feed it, and the output will be the puzzle pieces that I need to make my, I guess, music or drawing. And I think artificial intelligence is definitely going to help creative process more and more in the future. And I think magenta or music production in general is going to go through a lot of development, and a lot of applications are going to come out in this year and next year and more to come. So as developers, as musicians, I'm very excited, and I feel like you guys should be excited for it too. If you are interested if you found this interesting, please do try it at home. I know DAWs are pretty expensive, but there is also a desktop application for this, so you can just download it, and just, if you have MacBook, you can use GarageBand and just see what it does. And if you have any questions, or if you are to try it out at home and you have questions about where to get the game background music or anything, you can contact me through here. Thank you.